Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Subscription Scaled. I'm your host, Nick Frederick. With me today is Sasha Siddhartha, who is the co-founder and CTO of Thrive Market. Sasha, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nick. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. I guess for any listeners who might not be familiar, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background and how you came to found Thrive Market.
Sounds good. So I'm a career-long technologist. I studied computer science in college and started my career in Seattle, worked at Microsoft. So ran engineering teams there across both consumer and business-facing products. But really wanted to strike out on my own and build something I could put my name to. So been in the startup space, now going on 13 years. Came down to LA, where I'm based right now, in 2011. Co-founded and built a small tech business in the fashion technology vertical with a friend and coworker. So we ran that business for 3 years, scaled it through a couple of rounds of financing, ended up selling to another LA-based company, and then 2014 brought me to figure out what my next venture was going to be. So I knew I wanted to start another business from the ground up, but really work on something that had more scale potential, but also more potential for real positive impact. So, ended up spending a fairly exhausting summer networking with, everyone I could talk to, investors, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and ended up, through that journey, meeting my co-founders at Thrive Market, who were already a couple months into the business at the time. And in need of a partner with a technical background to help launch and scale the product. So for those who don't know, I'll introduce Thrive in a nutshell. We're a membership-based online grocery store. Our mission is to make healthy and sustainable living easy and affordable for everyone. The mechanics of how that works is we sell a membership-based model, so it's $60 a year for an annual membership, similar to a Costco membership or an Amazon Prime membership. Our members then get access to a curated catalog of 5,000 plus of the highest quality natural organic grocery products that are available to them at exclusive member-only prices and delivered to their door. So we operate nationwide, lower 48. So you hit every household in the contiguous US. And for every paid membership we sell, we give one away to a family in need. So low income students, teachers, veterans, first responders. So we've been around about 9 years at this point. Founded the business in 2014. So that's the company in a nutshell. But so met these guys in 2014, and learned a lot about the challenges with the grocery industry at the time. It was not immediately obvious to me that natural organic products sold at a massive premium to conventional equivalents, which sort of seems illogical given their product that has fewer ingredients and went through less processing should not cost more than something that has a nutrition panel where you can't read or understand how stuff that's in there. But that was the state of the food system, and for the most part still is. But that was real education to me. And what I really got excited about was a few things. One was the potential to do real good through the business by allowing the constituencies that need it most to have access to the class of products at affordable prices. I had an e-commerce background, so you could come in and make a difference on day one. My co-founders did not have an e-commerce or technical background, so I was in a position to be able to really influence the outcome in the early days when we needed to get to market and set ourselves up for scale. And I think from a business perspective, what was really exciting about it is the membership model creates some pretty unique opportunities for us, both as a business and our ability to serve our members. So we collect $60 in membership fees from our customers. Those are collected up front. That creates really advantageous cash flow to the business, which on one hand allows us to grow and scale, much more cost efficient than if we did not have that membership model in place. But it also provides us the capital to reinvest in creating an amazing member experience. And that goes from everything from being able to bring the price of the products down to being able to invest in technology, to be able to do great marketing promotions to help engage those customers and so on. So, that model and the sustainable unit economics, it applied allowed us and allowed me to build confidence in a category, that historically, if you think about online grocery, you think about first .com bust and Webvan, which is sort of one of the most kind of iconic kind of failures in of that sort of era. But the model that Thrive created, was even from a pre-launch stage, very plausible to allow us to get to scale. So that combination of factors, along with an incredible coalition that my co-founders already established of top thought leaders in the health and wellness space who not only were standing by to promote the business, but actually invested on capital because they believed so much in what we were doing. We're just sort of this is a little bit like too good to pass up. So so I signed on board, and the rest is history. And it was pretty dramatic few months for the business going into launch, because this is again back in 2014 where we didn't necessarily know that there was a huge market for these products online. We're operating with faith a little bit. We did not necessarily know that people would buy a membership for $60 for access. I remember sort of vivid moments from the days right after we launched where I was up in Seattle one day, like, should we get missing friends or something? We had our first PR piece go live. We'd been live to kind of friends and family for a few weeks, just to iron all the kinks out of the system. I believe we went live with an article in Refinery 29, which is a fairly kind of mainstream publication that I was sitting around and watch the traffic spike for the first time. I guess that literally our first day in market, and more importantly, started to see the conversions coming. So that was our first indication that we were, the nuts and bolts, the concept resonated, and we had something on our hands here. In a position to scale. Because until then, the journey had been pretty tenuous. So, we had attempted to raise, seed capital through traditional venture capital funds. And, co-founders and I had gotten rejection by more than 50 VCs, New York, LA, San Francisco, what have you. It was just not, it was certainly not obvious to the venture community there was for, anything other than Whole Foods, national organic space, right?
Yeah.
It sort of makes sense where, when you're on the coast and you've got a very, when you're an affluent person and you don't necessarily do your own grocery shopping, the idea that there may not be physical access to these products, there may be financial barriers that get in the way of being able to purchase them. There may be educational information barriers that get in the way of being able to purchase them. Those are hard concepts to absorb sometimes, and that was where we actually ended up going to these health and wellness influencers, initially with the goal to have marketing allies, but when the traditional fundraising became challenging, we started to go to these folks for capital, and we raised all our initial seed capital from that group of thought leaders and bloggers, and influencers, and one way or the other worked out to be one of the best things of the business because it allowed us to get out there with marketing partners that had skin in the game and were on the same side of the table as we were. We didn't have to spend a dime on paid media for months or a long time post launch.
So you went with the influencer route from the very beginning back in 2014.
Yeah, this is day one, and probably week one, month one. Yes, several months. All we did was influencer activation.
Okay.
We'd been working with a lot of these folks for months pre-launch to get ready.
Yeah. So your pitch to them at that time was, you can come in on the ground floor of this thing and really help us grow it. I mean, are they invested in the business themselves, or are they kind of just compensated on the referrals that they bring your way?
Both. So obviously they're not promoting for free, but they're all equity holders in the business. They invested early capital, and it was some of it getting on the ground floor, but I think it was also the fact that the consumer problem we were trying to solve, the mission of the company resonated with this audience. So that's why they were so eager to get on board. Is they'd had audiences for years that were moms in the Midwest who were looking to make healthier decisions for their families, but couldn't necessarily afford premium for national organic, or even if they couldn't necessarily find it at their local grocery store.
I'm curious, 9 years ago, a long time ago, and also not, but we think about Instacart, and just about every grocery store has delivery now, but that certainly wasn't the case 10 years ago. So what did you guys see as the opportunity, or what made you believe that this could be successful back then when this was a little less prevalent?
Yeah, I think it was, we did not, to be perfectly honest, we did not know exactly how big a business we were going to be able to build. And the performance the company has, surpassed even our sort of, very ambitious pre-launch financial models that we built in Excel. But there were a few concepts, right? I mean, we knew that, there were, some of the tailwinds were already visible in the data. Natural organic was a small, but certainly the fastest growing sector of consumer packaged goods. It continues to be compared to conventional. So that was one vector that was going in the right direction. E-commerce, that was tiny compared to what it is now, and even now it is tiny compared to brick and mortar, was the fastest growing kind of purchasing venue. So we knew that we believed these trends were going to continue, and we knew there was the ability to get at these audiences because increased prevalence of mobile usage, increased prevalence of kind of influencers being thought leaders and sources of trusted information to an increasing portion of the population. So we knew we had an ability to get to these audiences. We knew there was demand, the latent demand in the audiences for what we were offering. And we believed we had a operational model that would allow us to scale rapidly to hit every zip code, which is a very different logistical model than where you're building an Instacart, where you still need the local store. You're still subject to the local store's delivery radius.
Sure.
And obviously, model scales very well too. But our approach was always around curated catalogs. So buy deeper across a smaller SKU mix to get leverage and scale quickly. Centralized distribution and fulfillment, so that we could get economies of scale and efficiencies on the logistics and supply chain. And then that was also central to the mission because, again, we did not want to operate just in the areas that already had, just by definition, access to these products based on geography. We wanted to get out there and make sure that we could meet the needs of customers in a food desert where 23 million Americans live outside of driving distance from any sort of non-convenience-based grocery store.
So are you guys then, from a product catalog perspective, offering pretty much anything you can get at a grocery store? And what kind of logistical challenges does that create for you when you're trying to get to people who are in a food desert?
Yeah, so that's certainly our goal, to be a complete solution to our members. So when we launched the business, we focused on the center aisles of the grocery store, so non-perishable product that was shelf stable. That from a business perspective, it's the most profitable segment of grocery store. From an operational perspective, it doesn't expire out as quickly and it's less subject to damage and shipments. So that was the decision we made. Since then, we've added a really robust frozen program that covers everything you get in your freeze trial, plus late source meat and seafood and whatnot to be able to round out the offering. We added organic and biodynamic wines in 2018 or 2019. And we're going to continue marching towards a more complete assortment for our members. Obviously, the more you get into products that have a shorter shelf life or narrower temperature ranges in terms of their viability, the more challenging and expensive the operations get. Which is why we set our foundation on the non-perishable stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. So who today then is your ideal customer? I mean, who's your target, and how now are you reaching them? I assume you've branched out far beyond just influencer marketing, but how are you reaching them?
Yeah, so our target demographic is, we call them the wellness champion. So it is someone who aspires towards a healthier, more sustainable lifestyle. And the nice thing for us is that's a target that transcends, demographics, gender, geography, income stratification, and so on. At its core, in practical terms, we are most successful with your head of household grocery buyer. So, that's usually someone kind of 35 to 55 years old, probably in a family unit, probably has kids. In terms of how we reach them, it's sort of every mechanism up to the sun at this point. Influencers is still a huge and central portion of our marketing strategy, but we're playing in almost every paid media channel. There's an SEO play, referral programs, kind of the full gamut.
All that gamut. Well, any insights or lessons you guys have learned there as you've tried to grow, or have you found any channels to be just completely cost prohibitive and not worth the time? Or do you find that of the spread it around strategy works well for your brand?
I think it's a little bit of both that, like both parts of that hold true. So we're very data testing driven. So we tested to everything, whether it's, particular marketing channels, particular kind of top of funnel, bottom funnel, marketing as well. I'd say a few things we've found are we've had a lot of success with bottom of funnel performance marketing. That's sort of a lot of our DNA. A lot of the influencer activations tend to lend themselves to that part of the funnel. We're now marching further and further from there to mid funnel and then eventually top of funnel. Our goal is to be a universally recognized household brand. But I would say in terms of advice, you can't leapfrog too many of those steps. You can't go from being, kind of top-notch performance marketer to being, a top-notch brand marketer without having gone through some of the intermediate processes. So, we're spending most of our energy at the moment in mid funnel, bottom of funnel. We don't do a lot of pure awareness marketing at the moment, but I think over time, that's definitely going to be part of the mix. In terms of what works and what doesn't work, the reality is it keeps changing over time. Individual channels, there's going to be fatigue, kind of media cost inflation, all of that will affect every channel. And this stuff is, some of it's cyclical and some of it is you got to kind of keep ahead of the curve and look at the next thing. I think, the most successful marketers are probably the ones who can see at quarters a little bit and, when to buy low, sell high, like they can get into a particular channel and the media costs are really efficient. One example around this for us has been TikTok, where we've invested for several years now at this point. And obviously, now it's sort of every brand is on there. But it's definitely an area where, both, whether you're looking at kind of the influencer community or the paid media itself, it was a much more nascent channel a few years ago. You get the ability to build really deep relationships and work with folks and create absolutely amazing content at much more affordable rates potentially than be paying more on a more mature channel. So, a lot of it is test and learn. And I think one of the things we really emphasize is, the speed of learning and the number of iterations we can go through. And the better we've gotten at that, scale efficiently.
I want to turn back to your membership model for a second. You already touched on this a little bit, but if you think about it, $60 a year, $5 a month, in terms of household grocery spend is a drop in the bucket, right? It's not terribly significant. Why did you choose that route, right? Because you could have gone away or done away with that membership altogether and just offered your products, at affordable prices online. But what do you think that does to consumers who, take the time to pay that fee, especially up, maybe not even knowing how much they're going to use this, compared to, them being able to just go to a local grocery store? And you talked a little bit about what you can do with that cash flow as well, but how important is that to you?
I think it's central to what we're doing, and it's interesting because when we launched, it was a time when a lot of other players were moving away from memberships and subscription. So we, if you remember Jet.com, Jet's beta included a membership model in the kind of late 2014, early 2015 era. By the time they scaled, they dropped it. Obviously, sort of for them, the rest is history. Similarly, Walmart came in. Shoedazzle, which is another fairly prominent LA area e-commerce company, had already also recently pivoted away from membership model. And the usual argument there is, okay, you drop the membership because there's so much demand that's getting locked out by the membership wall that you just drop this thing, floodgates will open and people will come in and all will be well. So for us, the membership model is it's essential to unit economics because, it's a lot harder to drop the price on those products if we don't have ballast that the membership provides. And pointly, $60 a year, it is a significant amount of money to some folks, but, compared to the average grocery budget for a family, it is not significant. But for us on a per customer basis, it does make a big difference in terms of both the cash flow dynamics and just the profitability profile of the customer. For the member, I think the way we believe our members see it as being part of a community of shared values. So once you're inside there, you vote with your dollar to become a Thrive Market member because you believe natural organic is the direction that the industry should go. You want to support a company that delivers groceries with a real eye towards sustainability and access and fighting food inequality. How we see that reflected in terms of member behavior is once you're on the other side of the paywall, you're much more engaged. You got skin in the game. It's to a step committed. It's kind of like paying your gym membership up front and then getting in and hopefully actually go to the gym. And so we've been, we see, we don't have a great counterfactual on this, but we see the kind of engagement you want to see in terms of order frequency, basket sizes, renewal rates, continued participation in the membership where, we're able to we haven't raised the price of membership in 9+ years since we've launched, because we want it to remain a no-brainer for consumers, right? We haven't raised the price of the annual membership. We raised the price of monthly once. But we want every customer to be saving, a huge multiple of that $60 by shopping on the platform. So it has not actually been a topic that comes up that often, even in terms of should we raise the prices? So our goal is just continue to stack overwhelming value behind that membership, so we can build that community up to be large. To be.
Yeah. Well, what do you see from the members? Right. Of course, they're paying for this. They're paying for a year. Engagement over time, which I assume is measured purely in orders, or do you have other ways to member engagement from your customers?
Yeah, so we're looking at all the standard metrics, right? So we're certainly looking at order frequency. We look at how basket size evolves over time. We look at how category penetration evolves over time. We look at how people renew the membership. So we look at tenure and renewal rates. And then we look at not just membership retention, but also revenue retention over the course of years. So we get a lot of people who showed up in 2016 and they spend X dollars. What does that look like in terms of their contribution to 2017, 18, 19, 20? So those are some of the metrics we're looking at to measure the overall quantitative health of membership. And then we're backstopping that by trying to gather as much qualitative feedback as possible, so that we want to be confident. Not just the numbers are good. The tenor of the feedback made from customers in terms of their experience is also really positive.
Yeah. Any trends there you can share around looking at the tenure of those members? Maybe, both that were with you guys in early days who have stuck around, their spend compared to maybe new customers, and anything else that kind of stands out to you?
We've looked at I think it's been remarkably steady. And I think, part of that has been, traditionally, like your earliest customers, your early adopters, sort of hyper engaged and often perform better than what you see when you scale. I think we've been fortunate in a couple of different arenas here. One is we have a pretty large addressable market in terms of people who have a significant commitment towards health and wellness. We've also been able to continue improving the user experience, whether it's the digital shopping experience or the quality of the catalog or the quality of our fulfillment operations, our time to delivery and whatnot. But over those years, so that's done a great job of balancing out the fact that yes, we're probably and will continue to as we scale, start to prospect more marginal audiences that may not be as hyper engaged before. Obviously the pandemic has also helped in a couple of different vectors, right? One is, the national awareness around online grocery, took a step function jump that is not, it's not really meaningfully regressed. I think it's definitely, no one's seeing kind of the same relative growth they saw from 2019 to 2020, but now everyone's aware that online is a real channel to shop for groceries and CPG, and a lot of that habit formation that occurred over that time frame is now permanent. And we've seen some of our most successful cohorts being people who joined us kind of in 2020, in the midst of COVID. We didn't quite know what to expect. We're fortunate enough with the membership model to not be the most accessible place to go to for an emergency shopping experience for toilet paper and hand sanitizer. We have the membership wall in front. So, the folks who show up at Thrive Market, obviously we were in a position to really keep them safe at home and be an essential service to them, but they were still customers who self-selected into our brand because of their interest in natural, organic, and sustainability. So they're, if anything, some of our most engaged cohorts from that time, and trend continues to hold really strong.
I've actually generally stopped asking this question, but I think it's particularly relevant to you. Going back to the pandemic, I mean, you guys online grocery store, and store shelves were going bare, and people didn't want to go there anyway. And you have this unique membership model, which is almost a wall that somebody had to get over even to be able to use the service. What did you guys see in actually having that wall to help you even things out a little? A lot of businesses I talked to were like, the shelves got cleared out overnight. So how did you guys work through that?
Yeah, again, I have no idea exactly how things would have been without it, but it made a huge difference. And even for us, look, the magnitude of supply chain disruption at the time was so significant that no one was doing it. I mean, we had order backlogs, we had stock outs, we had like a lot of the same problems that every other grocer, every other essential service at the time faced. But it was much more muted in two directions. The spike in demand was not as extreme as many others had faced. The crash coming off that was not as extreme. There was no real crash at all for us. The members who signed up during that period overwhelmingly stayed. Now, we did have to take a lot of tactical action during that period to ensure we were doing everything we can to create the most equitable, high-quality member experience we had, because we had a lot of existing consumers that had signed up for us and been members for years. So it was an interesting time, and that literally not quite the entire company, but we were on daily huddles, monitoring inventory, monitoring demand. All the marketing was turned off. We went so far as to turn on a feature that I never thought I'd build called store hours. We just turned off the e-commerce site when the store was closed. And
really?
It was a message because I was like, we will be back tomorrow at 9, which allowed us to maintain not a great, but a reasonable quality of service. Because, as a physical goods business, like when those floodgates open and demand simply outstrips your capacity, in some cases it can be as existential as it's not having any demand at all, right? Your order's starting back up, your fulfillment process could theoretically fall over. There's like, between inventory and warehouse operations, I mean, there are some real kind of scale ceilings that a business like ours face. And we were committed to making sure that we were delivering as high quality experience as possible during that time. So, there's definitely, kind of limited hours. We had to ration a bunch of products in the store. There were a lot of other things that, I wouldn't have imagined even having to build the capabilities around, but we were turning that stuff around. Like what would have taken weeks of development was getting done in days. So, really proud of the work the team did there, and also of our ability to stay committed to delivering a high quality experience when, there's probably a real opportunity to kind of go for revenue maximization at the time. But, it was pretty obvious even at the time that was not the right route for us to take.
I want to also ask you about your role there being the CTO, the technology and how that has evolved over time, especially back in the beginning when you guys were trying to launch and get there. How have you approached growing and scaling? I mean, from the infrastructure, maybe even to applications and, build versus buy decisions. What's kind of been your approach? You said this business has grown faster than you even expected. So you probably had to make some tough decisions along the way, but kind of what's been your thinking and approach in those decisions?
Yeah, I mean, my build versus buy philosophy is fairly vanilla. So, you build the things that are your secret sauce, your differentiated value, or that aren't available to buy. And hopefully, you're in a position to buy or leverage everything else. Now, again, over the 9 years that I've been doing this, the ecosystem has changed a lot. The number of services that we had to build from scratch because there were no viable third parties out there that were doing this stuff well. If we're building the business again in 2023, we'd certainly be buying more software and building eco-class. But we focused in a few areas, kind of on the technology front that were core competencies. So our entire membership engine and charge processing, we built that stuff from scratch because we knew we'd want to iterate and test and optimize over time. And again, there were amazing providers. In 2014, we built all of our fulfillment logistics scratch. So I worked for our very first fulfillment center, which was like essentially in the middle of our corporate office. We had about 4,500 square feet of warehouse space. So we decided not to shell out operations to a third party, even though it would have been certainly less capital intensive and probably less brain damage to do it at the very early stages. But that was an area again where no one was really doing grocery fulfillment at any scale or with any level of quality back then. So that was another area where we've invested deeply, both in terms of customization of the software that we use there, but then really running continuous improvement processes inside our performance centers that have allowed us to dramatically improve the profitability profile of the business while also maintaining a really high quality of service to members. So the tech side, I kind of think about things that have been essential. So it's been a very business-driven technology program. We've tried to align our technology resources to the key needs of the business from both a consumer experience perspective, but also from a metric perspective. So, like most subscription businesses or most consumer business in general, we were really focusing to continue to expand out LTV or CAC. So lifetime value, what is each customer worth to you divided by CAC, cost to acquire the customer. So, on the CAC side, we've built a real competency around rapid A/B testing and data-driven iteration. So, our funnel and the early parts of the customer experience go through dozens, if not hundreds, of experiments a year that the team can run to improve the messaging, improve the UX flows, test the value proposition, test offers, test pricing, test everything. On the LTV side, deep investments in data analytics and predictive modeling, so we can understand who are high quality customers, what experiences they go through. Some high quality customers, where do they come from to have kind of inherently high value? How can we influence the outcome? How can we go find more of these folks? So, substantial investments there. And aside from being a membership and a subscription, online grocery has a lot of unique needs, which traditional e-commerce, again, 30 years ago, was not solving for. You went to most online grocery experience in 2014, and kind of the same experience that was used to sell books in 2004 was being used. So we've had to invest in innovation there. Everything from being able to shop by 90 plus dietary ingredient lifestyle filters to we take everyone through a personalized onboarding experience where we gather preference data, guide customers through every aisle of the grocery store. Our auto ship, our recurring shipments product was totally custom built because we needed something that was much more advanced and sort of differently constructed than a traditional subscribe and save type model where we have a recurring business, but no two grocery trips are exactly the same. So we need to accommodate that customer behavior. So there's a lot that we've built. Everything else that we can buy, whether it's kind of obviously kind of marketing automation tools and customer service tools and so on and so forth, and even kind of underlying e-commerce engine is either SaaS or open source. So, but most of it's really heavily customized at this point. And that is one of those things which becomes a little bit of a one-way street where you've got enough custom software. Now you can only custom software in some areas until you really kind of tease everything apart. And that's part of the journey we're on too. Is we started off fairly monolithic. Now we're kind of a mix of monolith and microservices. I think we'll be heading in an increasingly loosely coupled, componentized direction where we'll want the flexibility to be able to swap out pieces as new tech emerges in the industry. And now we've got the team, the scale, the stability to be able to support infrastructure like that. So not something we could have ever done in the early days, but now that's the direction we're moving in.
Yeah, that was kind of going to be my follow-up question there. Given where the state of the industry is now, and to your point, all of the new tools and players that are out there really building some great software, where do you see the value sometimes? And we did build this, but we have to maintain it. It's not worth it anymore. Let's go plug in this thing that's now can meet our need versus.
No easy answer to that question. I mean, and we've gone down to doing some of that replacement, doing some of that uncoupling, and also finding out that we may just want to continue investing in our own. So, I think the patterns we tend to see are not dissimilar from like standard pattern software development. Like everything takes about 2 or 3 times as long as you think it would, and is materially more complex and bit of error prone. It's I think when you build SaaS, you're going to optimize the most common use cases, the most common points of integration. So, when you're at meaningful scale and meaningful complexity, it is quite likely that any off-the-shelf solution does about 80% of what you want it to. And you may be willing to compromise that. I'm just not going to worry about that other 20%. I'll find a way to work around it, because the total cost of ownership with this 80% is so much lower. And if I had to maintain 100% on it, 80% is so much lower. And if I had to maintain 100% on it. So that tends to be the sort of trade-off decision that we need to end up making. And then it's a bit of a business calculus. Okay, is this an area of strategic importance? Is it do I need that 20%? Is this area going to become more important over time? Are the tools going to get better over time? And there's meaningful overhead in working with third parties as well, whether it's sort of communication overhead or kind of more untrusted inputs and outputs, or another source of failure that for better or worse you don't have control over. So there's no simple answer to this. Like, I think it is easier. It is invariably easier to go from kind of a loosely coupled set solutions where most of it is bought, and then making the decision, okay, I'm going to take this in house, and then you can say, okay, here's what's going to cost to write some greenfield software to meet my future needs. It is definitely harder to go the other direction, because even the last 20%, like so somebody, whether it's an internal stakeholder or 20% of your customers or something like that, are going to hold on to that for dear life, and that's going to be a really tough decision as to when you peel that back.
Yeah, weigh all the factors and kind of make the best decision at that point in time. Sasha, my last question for you is more just about the state of your industry and your business and where you see things going in the next couple of years. I mean, consumer behavior is certainly changing. Online ordering, e-commerce continues to grow at phenomenal clips, and again, consumers just get more comfortable with this mode of shopping rather than going to physical stores. So, are you guys then focused on growing your core business, new markets, new products? Where's going to be the focus for the next couple of years for you guys?
Yeah, I think largely the former. So it's growing our core business, continue to improve and iterate on the user experience, continue to fill in as many gaps as possible in the offering. And in terms of where consumer preference is going, the standards have grown dramatically in terms of speed, utility, convenience. Any aspect of e-commerce you think of, both within and outside of grocery over the last 10 years. I think the area that we're most likely to be focusing on is, really on taking cognitive load out of the experience and continuing to emphasize personalization. So some of those have been driving factors for us from the very early days of the business. So we invested in both data warehousing and kind of AI machine learning from a very early kind of stage of the business. For a few reasons, right? We have a lot of data because it's a high frequency purchasing experience. Our average customer is adding, 15 items to their cart. 90% of people are expressing their preferences in great detail as they're onboarding membership. So, with the ability we have the ability to gather a lot of data, and then, with the ability to actually leverage that data to earn customer trust by playing that back to them in terms of, personalized shopping experience where they're seeing the right products, brands, categories, dietary specific products for their needs across every touch point. Personalized marketing communication where they're only seeing the campaigns for the products that might be relevant to their needs. So you don't want to sell to a beef jerky promo or a vegan audience. They did not complain.
Right.
And then it's also been really critical for us to understand and predict user behavior. So building machine learned models for LTV, for propensity to convert, propensity to churn, allows us to identify who are the right audiences for our offering, and then what are the best messages to be able to present to them to drive the right behaviors. Obviously that industry is evolving at about as fast a pace as it ever has. With GPT and large language models and generative AI being at the forefront today, which is just super exciting for our space. The big unlock there is you now have models that are trained on unbelievable amounts of third-party data, which no individual consumer brand or no individual retailer is going to have direct access to. So I think grocery and CPG is going to be one of those areas that is where GPT and similar solutions are really going to get ripe for disruption. So there's an opportunity to really simplify the customer experience. And I think the biggest thing that we're playing around with still now is, how do we leverage broader intent? So, if you know you want sour cream and potato chips like a traditional search engine, or the best way to go. If you kind of want to abstractly feed your family or like plan, healthy snacks for the school picnic, it's a lot harder for a traditional search engine to understand that. So, large language models allow us to bridge some of those gaps. Translate from intent, potentially recipes, potentially products for those recipes, and then create end-to-end journeys by which customers can start to shop those with less work, less clicks, less cognitive load. So those are definitely areas that we're excited to continue, remaining on the cutting edge and investing in innovation.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Sasha, this has been a fun conversation. I've enjoyed hearing about your business and how you guys have grown it so quickly and successfully. If any listeners want to check out the website, or maybe they have some questions about what we talked about today, where should they go?
The website's thrivemarket.com. And if anyone wants to reach me or reach the team, it's Sasha at thrivemarket.com.
Awesome. Well, Sasha, thanks again for the time today. Really appreciated all the insights and background on your business and experiences that you shared today. I'm sure it's very valuable for our listeners, but thanks again for coming on the show.